if you've been here for some time, you know that I'm currently living in Norway, and I came here as an international student pursuing my master's degree. And I actually shared with you guys information on how it is free for international students to study in Norway. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been like 2 weeks of me not posting a full YouTube video, though I've been posting some shorts. I've really been busy with schoolwork and my job, so yeah, it's been, you know, trying to balance everything. But here I am with a new video and I'm excited. I'm pretty sure you're gonna love it, so give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let's get straight into it. Unfortunately guys, it will no longer be free. As from January 2023, it was passed that Norway will be charging tuition fee for international students. That is so unfortunate, and it's something we've been really hoping won't happen because the debate has been going on for quite some time. There were demonstrations and people having petitions for the government not to pass that law to charge international students. But unfortunately, as of January 2023, it was passed. It's so unfortunate for those who applied to come study in Norway this year. That's for the autumn semester, August 2023. And those are the people who applied around last year, December 2022, December through 2023, January. It's unfortunate that if you get admitted and you decide to come study in Norway, you will have to pay the full tuition fee, which differs with the different public universities. But I'm going to be giving you guys the exact figures from my school where I study, Norwegian University of Life Sciences. And you will not only be required to pay the full tuition fee before coming, but you'd also have to have the show money, the upkeep money, which is around 128,887 Norwegian crowns. So it will be quite expensive, and it's so unfortunate that this new law is taking effect immediately. So I was doing research and I saw for countries like Sweden, when they passed the law to introduce tuition fee, they took some time for the implementation process, and there was like they started introducing it slowly. But in Norway, it's taking effect fully immediately from August 2023 autumn semester. If you're from a country in the EEA, or if you're from Switzerland, and I think also some people from UK, for them it will still be free to study in Norway. But for all people outside the EEA, Switzerland, outside that zone, that is Africa, India, like all the other international students, you're gonna have to pay the full fees. So the debate to introduce tuition fee in Norway has actually been taking place for the last almost 5 years. It has been a lot of negotiations, discussions on whether it's the best decision to make, and this has been by the two big parties in government here in Norway, because it's a matter of prioritizing their budget. Because in order for the universities not to charge us tuition fee, the government actually gives the universities some money, and that's how the universities continue to run, get their salaries without the students paying. But now the government has been considering having the tuition fee because they were thinking of how they can use that money for something else. One of the major reasons this decision has been passed this time is in the last year, Norway has taken in about 40,000 refugees, mostly from the war in Ukraine, because Norwegians are really huge supporters of Ukraine. So they have really taken in and incorporated, they're trying to incorporate a lot of these Ukrainian refugees into their system. And it takes a lot of money because they have to consider these people are also going to school. These people need to be given some sort of, if they don't have jobs, they need to be given some sort of income. It's not only the refugees from Ukraine, they also take refugees from other countries, and some of these refugees also apply family reunification visas for their relatives, which means more people coming into the country, and that's a lot of costs for the government. So they started debating on what shall we cut down from our budget, and unfortunately they decided that they're gonna take away the money they use for university. They are also expecting that in this year and coming years, the number of refugees and people who are coming into the country is rising. Actually, the prices of almost everything in Norway, electricity, food, has really gone up because of all the war in Ukraine, also some effects of COVID-19. Another reason they decided to do this is because they were saying that around 70 to 80% of the students who actually study in Norway leave the country after a few years, of which, according to me, the government is also to blame for this, the whole system, because first of all, it's very hard to get a job in Norway after you're done with your studies, because it's a matter of language. In order to get a full-time job and to be employed in like the professional jobs, you have to know Norwegian, and that's like level B1. That's an advanced level of Norwegian, right? And if you are like a master's student, you've only been here for 2 years, you've been working part-time, you've been taking your studies, so balancing all these things, focusing on your school, taking part-time jobs, trying to cope to the country, learning a new language within 2 years, for example, for master's students, probably by the time they're finishing their studies, most of them don't have an advanced knowledge of Norwegian. So then it limits their chances of getting professional jobs. The jobs themselves, it's not like they're just there lying waiting for you. It's, you really have to search for the jobs, and also you are limited to the job options because you have to take a job within your line of study. For example, I'm taking my master's in international environmental studies, right? I cannot go and take a full-time job in finance or accounting. So according to the rules, in order to get a work visa after my studies to work in Norway, I have to find a full-time job 100% in a field related to, a job related to what I learned, that is environmental studies. So if I found another full-time job giving me 100% employment in another field, that is not gonna help me get the papers to stay here to work. So it's very limiting the employment opportunities. There is the language barrier, also the high cost of living in Norway. So I think most students, after completing their studies, they end up leaving the country. The system that is in Norway in terms of social welfare, how the government runs things, it's a very limited number of people who would actually want to leave the country. So the reason most of these 70 to 80% people leave the country after their studies is because the system itself is not really enabling them to stay. You really have to work hard to stay. You really have to learn Norwegian. You really have to do internships, like sort of build your CV in order to get jobs. So it's really not easy for them. When these people leave, it's like the country did not benefit from them. You know, they used their money to educate you, and you should use then these skills you've gotten, this education, to build the country, to so that money sort of goes back into the system when you're working here and paying taxes. But if you leave, it's like they just used the money on you and you've left, you know, so they've not benefited from you. For me, I actually view it as it's mutually benefiting, because as a student, I have part-time jobs, I am paying taxes, you know, I am providing labor, cheap labor, and living here is also expensive. So I don't see how, even though I left, how the government will like have wasted money on me. I don't feel like they would have wasted money on me. I feel like I'm also contributing something, you know, unless like you're not working, you're not doing anything, you're just existing, and you know, it's different. But most students actually work and pay taxes. So for me, I feel like that was a bit unfair. I would like to also, especially if you're in Norway, let me know what you think about that. I understand where the government is coming from, you know, their reasoning, and it's their points are valid in terms of they want to save costs, right, with the whole economic situation right now. I just feel like education is such an important thing they are sacrificing, you know. The reason I feel this is there are a lot of international students who have really benefited from studying in Norway. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but it's just to know the magnitude of how education can change someone's life, you know. Just yesterday I was looking at a video online of a kid I don't know whether it's in Uganda or in which country, who was really malnourished. Like their legs, the legs of that boy who seemed like he's around 14, like this brush, severely malnourished. And I was looking at the comments and people were saying, oh, I wish I could help. I am sorry I really feel bad for the times I complain. And I was just thinking, some of these developing countries, there are people who will never get out of poverty, not because they are lazy, not because they don't want to get out of that situation, but things that can help them to get out of those situations, things like education. They are not able to pay fee. And also studying in this country, studying, like for me, even studying, if I was still in Kenya, I promise you I couldn't be in school right now taking a master's degree in Kenya. And that's because when you're there, it's like I have other priorities, like just paying your rent and your upkeep, because from the jobs you do or the businesses you do, it's not a lot of money you get to help you even go to school and further your studies. It's more of surviving, So, and I feel like when a person, even just one person benefits from that opportunity, it's a long chain of the people who end up benefiting. That person ends up being able to build a house for their parents, taking their other siblings to school, So by giving a person free education, you are impacting the lives of so many people in these developing countries. Their siblings who would have otherwise not gone to school. And by these people going to school, you're helping end poverty in some of these countries, And I understand that it's not their burden to carry. They are not responsible to help these countries because, again, the reason most developing countries are like that is corruption, a lot of misuse of resources. But I feel like if you have, as a nation, you have the ability to help, then just help. And education is one of the best ways you can help. So for me, I really hope that somehow a miracle can happen. We still have a couple of months. Right now we are in March. So between now and August, I really hope a miracle can happen. And when I was doing my research, I saw some really amazing comments and sort of policies the government can use to sort of help international students if they were to decide to come study in Norway. And one was the government to like have more incentives to help the students stay and get assimilated into the system after completing their studies. For example, making the employment process a bit easier, because right now, as I mentioned, it's really not easy to get a job after the studies, especially when you're limited to, you have to get a job specifically on your line of study, then it wouldn't make sense for a student to spend a lot of money, learn a new language, only to end up not getting a job and moving back to where you came from. So if the government can have more opportunities, more job opportunities, simplify the process of getting a job, let it be an easy process. The one I was thinking of is a country like Canada. If you're an international student there, for you to become a citizen, for you to get like citizenship, the years you study, the years you are a student also count when like getting the required number of years to apply for citizenship. But in Norway, they don't count. For me to apply for permanent residency here in Norway, I need to work for at least 3 years before I can be able to apply for that. So the years I was a student do not count, So if they can, for example, adjust that and have that the years you're a student, the 2 years, for example, you're a master's student, will count towards getting permanent residency, then that can make more sense. So currently there are no sponsorship options because it has been free to study, so the government didn't need to offer scholarships. But countries like Sweden, Finland, also Netherlands, I saw they have scholarship. The government has scholarship for students, international students, whereby students still go to study in Sweden, Netherlands, Finland under scholarships which are funded by the government. So if Norway can then have that form of scholarship whereby the government funds scholarships so that some international students can apply for these scholarships, and if they are qualified, then they can still come and study for free. I'll do a video where I'll share more about other Scandinavian countries and the scholarship options available. But like the Sweden one, the government will pay for the cater for the sponsor scholarship. Government will cater for the scholarship, but then the student would have to cater for their upkeep, which is still okay because the student can still work part-time, you know. So if Norway can have such scholarships, it would still help for them to keep having this helping international students get some education, you know. The way would be for them to have like a tax return in terms of once an international student finishes their studies and they continue living in Norway, you know, they get work and they pay their taxes to Norway, then the government can refund some of the money, most of the money they used to pay for their tuition fee to study in Norway, in like to be returned to the student as like tax deduction, because this student paid to study here, they are now working here, they are paying their taxes. So you know, if there were such incentives, I feel like it would make more sense to come study in Norway. But as for now, I feel like it would be such a big sacrifice spending all that money paying tuition fee, having the money for upkeep, learning a language, and just praying that somehow when you finish your course you'll get an employment, a job somewhere in order to continue living in Norway. Otherwise, right now, I don't think it would be a very, I feel like there would be other options, especially in English speaking countries like UK. It would make more sense, you know, a place where job opportunities are easier to get, you know. So fortunately, guys, all hope is not lost. There are still some options to study in Norway, and one of them is as an exchange student. I actually know some exchange students who are here for 6 months, and some of them came from universities in Kenya. Another one is a Kenyan student who has been taking her education in Uganda and got a DAD scholarship, and she, through that scholarship, she had the option of taking exchange in Norway, and we are actually taking one course together, and I plan to do some, to bring them on the channel for them to share with you guys. For example, if you are a student in a university in Kenya, how can you apply for exchange, you know, or some of those DAD scholarships, which can also help you not only to study in Norway but also other countries. I also know of one who did nursing in Australia but is now living in Norway. She finished her studies in Australia, worked as a nurse, you know, and she applied to come to Norway as a skilled worker, and is now just like trying to get her nursing license. So options are still there. It's just that it wouldn't be one of the easiest process, but that doesn't mean that all hope is lost. So that's what I was telling you guys. Do not let this discourage you. If you had applied in Norway and even get the admission, don't now feel like, oh my God, I'm not lucky. Why did this happen to me? No, you just, now the same push and aggressiveness you had when applying for this to study in Norway, the same anticipation you have, use the same energy to look for other opportunities elsewhere. You know, you have UK, you have Australia, Italy, Finland, a lot of countries that whose tuition fee is not as expensive. And if you find a country that, for example, you don't need to go learn their language, you know, you'd still get such really nice opportunities. So I'm gonna do my research and do videos on other opportunities for international students. So subscribe to the channel, share this video with a friend or someone it would benefit. And all in all, I am really grateful to the Norwegian government for the lives they have impacted so far through the free education. I mean, I wouldn't be here were it not for that. So let's also just appreciate them for the lives they have helped transform. It's even though they've ended it, there are people who have benefited from that, and kudos Norwegian government. So let's just hope that they will now have more opportunities for those who are students to sort of assimilate into the system better. And just to encourage someone who maybe this whole issue has really affected, you really feel discouraged, and you feel like this law has shattered your dreams, because maybe you are saying that 2023 I'm moving to Norway, I have applied, and some of you also like wrote to me on Instagram and told me you've applied, you're excited and waiting. Please don't let this discourage you. There's a song that really encourages me by Bethel Music called Pieces, and the lyrics basically say that God does not tease us, because sometimes you can feel like you are at the verge of getting a breakthrough and then suddenly it flies away and you feel like, was I just being teased, And let me just read for you guys the lyrics. If I had an amazing singing voice, I would sing for you guys, but let's just read the lyrics for now. This is my favorite part where it says, God, let me just say godly, praise the you with God, because that's what they are referring to. God does not give his heart in pieces. He doesn't hide himself to tease us. So if this is an opportunity you are waiting for and you feel like, kwani goshumekio in Kikuyu, how do I say that in English? You can feel like you've been teased with an opportunity, like you are really excited about it. It was there and suddenly it's not there anymore. And God is just reminding us that he doesn't hide himself to tease us, If God had given you this dream and you had seen this opportunity, you haven't been teased. God still has a big plan for you. He says in Jeremiah 29, my all-time favorite, simple verse that everyone knows, God, he knows the plans he has for us, and they are plans to prosper us, to give us a hope, a future, an expected end. God is not teasing you by delaying his promises over your life. He still has a plan for you, and it's a plan of good. It's not a plan of evil. Sometimes, is it Proverbs 3:5 as well that says that? Let me just read it. Trust in the Lord with your heart. What version is this? Let me do the AMP version. This is good. Trust in and rely confidently on the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own insight or understanding. This might have been your plan, right? You'd even started preparing, but maybe that was your plan. Maybe God has a different, even more beautiful plan for you. And I feel like God is just reminding us that he doesn't tease us. The fact that you saw this light, now it has not been dimmed. God still has an amazing plan for you, for us. So he's reminding us to rely confidently. It's one thing to say that I'm trusting God for this, but then when you go back alone, when you're alone inside your heart, you have fear. And what if it doesn't work out? But outward, you're like, I'm confident it will work out. God is telling us we can be confident when trusting him. He does not deceive us. He is a good God. Even if this doesn't work, he still got you. He still has amazing plans for your life. It's not the end of things. For you might see this as the end, but maybe God has something even better than this you thought was an amazing plan. Take back your courage, take back strength and boldness, and now tell him, God, it's okay. This one has not worked out. What next? What next, God? And come to him with confidence. Do not go to God crying and begging, guys. He's your father. Suddenly I've become a preacher. If God is saying you can trust him with confidence, rely on him fully. And when you go to him, if you're feeling sorry and sad, it's okay. You cry and feel all those emotions. But when you come to God to approach him, come with confidence, with boldness, reminding him, if I'm your child, you said that you have good plans for me. Where are those plans? like have a conversation with him and come begging and crying, God, why is this happening to me? Please have mercy on me. Please help me. That is not how, the Bible says you are a royal priesthood. If you're a prince and you're going to the king, you have the right. You have the right to ask. It's not normal for a child to, for example, beg their parent for food. Their parent is responsible for them, for providing for them. And God also says in Matthew 7, he says that if he watches over the birds of the air, how much more us? If he dresses the lilies, feeds the birds of the air, how much more? God is responsible for you. So when you go to him, go confidently, courageously. He is willing, and he wants us to depend on him fully. I promise you, I've been in that situation of begging and crying to God, thinking that humility, it's called false humility, that when you run to him, crying to him, that's when he's going to answer your prayer. Honestly, it rains to the just and the unjust. Just go confidently to God and ask him for direction on the next move. My personal experience is, you see, the blessings of God, they don't come with sorrow. They don't come with tears. The blessings of God come with joy and peace. One of the ways to know that God is leading you to a certain direction, it should come with peace. It should come with ease. My personal story, like when I was coming to Norway, I honestly didn't have the show money, the 128,000 Norwegian crowns. I didn't have money for the visa. Guys, I didn't have that money. For me, if I were to pay for myself, the only thing I could pay for myself was either the visa or the flight. But those were like different costs. But me, let me tell you, I was not worried. And it's not that I thought I had a plan or I knew that God is gonna use a specific person to pay for me, which he did. I just was fully confident that, God, if I got this admission, if you brought this opportunity my way, then me, it's not my worry on how things are gonna work out. I'm just preparing my mind. I'm starting to adjust my body, to the cold it's gonna experience, because I knew God has never failed me. And I know even you, God has not failed you. You have testimonies, you can testify of the goodness of God in your life. He has done some things for you. So the same God who helped you one time is the same God who will open doors for you. He'll do great, abundant things that you have not thought of, that things you've not even imagined. He's capable of doing so much for us. You live a day at a time, asking God to direct your path, and he will never fail you. He will never fail us. So yeah, that was it about this video. I just didn't want it to be a negative video all through of how tuition fee has been introduced. Now it's a disaster. I still believe nothing can stop the blessings of God in my life, even though they say that even that fees God can provide. If he has said you will go to Norway and you're gonna go through that education, if he wants you studying in Norway, he will work all things out and you will find yourself in that school studying, because nothing is impossible with God. Nothing is impossible. So yeah, that's it from me, guys. Unfortunately, this video will be much longer than I thought it would be, because I've ended up, I think, preaching a whole sermon, but just flowing with the Spirit of God, encouraging someone. So I hope that you enjoyed watching the video. Yeah, I hope you're encouraged, and more videos will come. Finding that time sometimes is not the easiest thing, but I do try my best. So the only way you guys can encourage me is by watching the video, sharing it with your friends, because the views are what pays us YouTubers. It's not really even about the subscribers, it's the views. So I really need people to watch the video, and not only for me to get paid, but also I feel like they would also get impacted somehow. At least I try in all my videos, even though it's just through a verse or just something impactful in someone's life. A seed of God, the word of God always grows, nourishes. So yeah, if you can share the video, even just sharing it on your WhatsApp status, in your groups, it would really help me, encourage me. Subscribe to the channel. Also give the video a thumbs up, because when you give the video a thumbs up, YouTube sees that you guys actually loved the video, so it recommends it to other people, and that would be really, really helpful and encouraging for me. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.